Hey, I have to hit the leave meeting button. Hang on.
Dismissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was telling, we were chatting before this, and somebody's joining here. Anyway, so we were chatting before this, and I was like, I actually had to make coffee this afternoon since we called it coffee talk. I was like, okay, so that actually means I have to make coffee. So I did, just for you guys. So hi, Don.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
Good. You didn't know you were going to come on and be the lone person on
I did
here.
not know that, but hey,
Now it's like now you can't turn your camera off, like all the weird things, and then it just becomes super awkward. Anyway, thanks for being here. We
Of
appreciate
course.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk through it and record it, and you can listen in. I'm just kidding. You can turn your camera off if that makes you comfortable. I'm just joking about that. But I don't think we've met before.
No, I know recognize you and your wallpaper from I'm
That's fantastic.
and I found you through Rob's connections. So I'm involved, like I have Manuscriptor
Oh
and
yeah.
all that. So yes, but I have seen your videos many times,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome. That's so funny. I have been in this office for years, but then I moved to a different room for like a short stint, and I was like, but I really like the wallpaper background, so I
I
had to come
agree.
back to it.
I agree. It looks awesome.
Thanks. And this is Dave. Dave is one of our speaker coaches at Authority Speakers.
Hi, Dave.
So,
Hello. Nice to meet you,
yeah.
Dawn.
Same here.
And he also knows Rob very well, and it's a small little playground that we all play in to
Mhm.
a certain extent, so it's always great to meet those connections. So awesome. Welcome. We're here today kind of just in a casual form, but we're going to talk about the Big Idea Conference. And Dave and I kind of jam back and forth on it a lot, and we thought, well, wouldn't it be fun if we just did like a fun little coffee talk series
Yeah.
and jammed back and forth? And this isn't a pitch, this isn't any of that. We're just kind of talking about what is the Big Idea Conference and how it kind of came to be, and whether or not like you're a part of the Big Idea Conference, what other things like speakers might need, and how we're kind of filling that gap, if that makes sense. But it should all
Sounds
make
good.
sense here in a second. So anyway, yeah, so I don't know if you've heard of the Big Idea Conference. I know we've sent out a few emails of it, but it was actually this a really brilliant idea that Dave came up with. I don't know, like a year ago now, Dave.
Might be. We used to talk about it conceptually, I think, and then somewhere it caught. So I don't know how. Yeah. So let's say a year. That sounds
Okay,
good.
let's say a year. And
Let's say a
somehow
year.
we gave it a name, probably less than a year ago. But you're right. Like the
Mhm.
concept has been talked about for quite some time. And I feel like it really came off of the heels of the business show. So like we had a ton of speakers go to the business show,
Right.
and that's kind of where it all started. So maybe
Right.
you can talk about that, like when, because you were at the business show with many of our
Yeah.
speakers. We had
Right.
a whole break, just to give some context, right? Like, so we had a whole breakout that was all Authority speakers. It was
Mm-hmm.
awesome in my
Mm-hmm.
mind. I wasn't there, but it appeared to be awesome. And so all of our speakers kind of spoke in that one breakout area. It was the most well attended breakout out of all of them. That's what the show told us. And so they were really, they were happy with us. We were happy. And Dave, you came back and you're like, hey, this is what the speakers actually need. And then
Mm-hmm.
it kind of, built from there. But anyway, maybe you can talk about the business show and kind of how that all kind of transpired then into the Big Idea.
Yeah, I'm quick on the business show. It was the U.S. business show in Miami. And if anyone's ever done strength finders before, one of my top 5 is a maximizer. So I like to get like the most out of things. So I leave no meat on the bone, especially as it relates to business. So at the business show was this really cool opportunity because, as Amy said, I do a lot of coaching, and a lot of the people that were in our coaching program were going to the business show, and I don't get to see anyone in action. I have to take your word for it, Dawn, and everyone who's watching this afterwards on replay that, hey, are you a good speaker? Yeah, I'm awesome. Like, okay. And then we just move on. Like, that must be true. I'm sure you're awesome. So it was this neat opportunity. to go down there and see everyone in action. More than that, though, I said, hey, I have a friend that lives in the area who also does photography and video, and he's just getting started. Now, he didn't do the best job. For those that were at the business show, we acknowledge that, like, we didn't hit a home run, but the concept was a home run, which was folks need media. And the thing that was exciting was we delivered at a very high level. People were leaving the main stage to come over to listen to our speakers because frankly, they were better. And what we wanted to provide afterwards were great photos and evidence of this. I was like, we need to be able to show people our speakers. Otherwise, they're just anyone else. They're just lost in the crowd. So I'd say that was the backdrop. That's where we had the sprinkling of the idea that we need video evidence that people can speak. And it got a little more serious at the business show. And then it started getting legs. Like, how do we do this? Because we can't just run all over the world doing business shows and bringing in video and sound. That's a lot to ask. And I think that might have been the beginning
Yeah.
of the big idea. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like this conundrum in the industry with speakers is like, you have to speak on stage to get the assets, but you have to have the assets to get to speak on stage.
Right.
So that's kind of like the gap that I feel like it's filling. And like the Big Idea Conference too, just to add a little bit more context, because you're right, it did kind of get legs and we started thinking about it and how can we help like fill that gap and help the speakers is like the Big Idea Conference. While it's called the Big Idea Conference, it's a conference hosted by us, by authority speakers. And, at this point, it's less about who's in the audience and it's more about what's happening on stage. And so how can we provide that opportunity for speakers to get really great video footage, photography? And we've got tons of other like really cool things. I'm calling them activations, but that's just the event planner terminology in me. But anyway, other really cool activations that have just kind of spread and gotten momentum from it. But I don't know. I would love to I don't mean to put you on the spot, Don, but I would love to ask you because since you're here, tell us like about your speaking, what's your topic? Do you feel like this is a need in the industry? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. This is I don't know what number career I am in my lifetime, but I used to do a lot of speaking, coaching, writing, both in the defense industry and in the wellness industry. And then life happened. And so got sidetracked with that. So it's really only been the last couple of years that I've been getting back into the speaking and writing and coaching. And I am certified as 2 life coaches with 2 different organizations. I've written books, I've co-written books. And as far as the speaking, I have been getting back into it, but you're absolutely right. It's the chicken and egg thing that I need these assets to get these back. One of my mentors, and I believe coaches should have coaches. So my coach said to me, he said, Dawn, I love your speaker page on your website, but what's this thing? This picture of you in your 20s holding a microphone. I said, well, first of all, thank you. I was in my 40s when that was taken, but still, you're right. The picture's like 25 years old. So
Yeah.
I need new assets. And you're right. I did an event for the American Cancer Society, but the audio was awful. So I can't even use that. Right. So you're right. We need that speakers. We need this.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's so true. I think you just hit something as well as like, so that you did have that speaking engagement and an amazing engagement, by the way. Right. Congratulations with an awesome organization. And,
right.
Sometimes we're then waiting on that organization to provide XYZ back to us. Like, or in your case, the audio was bad. So now it's like, oh, darn it, shucks, like this isn't even usable, even though I was really excited to be able to get this. So sorry about that. I'm also waiting on a video going on like 2 years. I don't think I'm going to get it anymore. Right. But we hear these things all the time, because you're not the client, right? Like American Cancer Society is the client to the videographer. And so you're really, this is what I've experienced over the years, even though like I introduce myself and I'm super friendly and give them my email, I get their email. Whether it's the videographer, the AV people, the photographer, I try my best to meet all of them. The reality is I'm not their client at the end of the day, right? They don't owe me anything. And so anyway, you hit a good point. And I'm glad, I'm not happy that that happened to you, but I'm glad you brought it up as a point, because I oftentimes forget that, that you're just relying on other people and you're not the priority, unfortunately. So that's really good. So you've reinvented yourself like again and again, it sounds like. And I think,
yes.
yeah, I think a lot of people do that. I see a lot of books behind you. I'm assuming all of those books are yours, or you're a contributor to all of them.
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. I didn't mean to do that, but yay. But I do like this one. I do this one on our coaching calls a lot. That one, I know it's a little bit more subtle than the hey. So yeah, I think, that happens a lot. I share a story often too about, when I first got into speaking, it was really on like the business side, like how to write great copy, digital marketing, how to use social media, all this stuff. And then I transitioned to a topic that is completely unrelated, which is on happiness and positivity. Like I couldn't sell like that and show them a video on how to write really great copy, So sometimes even if you have the talent and the skills and you've been a speaker for a while, just like making sure all that is updated is really important. Dave, I'm sure there's like some funny stories when Dawn was talking about the picture of her from her 20s/40s.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like some really funny stories that we have even within the agency where we produce celebrity speaker kits for folks and they're sending us photos that are so outdated. And then we meet them and we're like, oh, like that doesn't even look like you anymore,
Mhm. Mhm.
just having that consistency for folks. But anyway, so kind of going back to the big idea, can I share something? I want to show anyone who's listening, and of course Dawn, one of the things that like Dave really said, since he's a maximizer, which I didn't know but now makes so much sense, was when we were looking for a venue, he's like, look, this is what I imagine. I imagine this stage with great lighting and plants on the side of the stage that's really greatly decorated, right? You said this, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, okay, so this is Dave's vision. And how do we kind of bring this to life? And so
multiple camera angles.
And
Very
multiple
important.
camera angles.
Multiple
right.
camera angles.
That was
critical.
like your thing, right?
Yeah.
So as I'm like doing the whole site visits and like looking at all the, it was a struggle. And I kept thinking, we're going to have to settle on this. Like what Dave's vision is, and now has become, an adapted vision within our whole team. I'm not sure that we can like deliver that until I found WJCT Soundstage, which is the largest soundstage in the South, and it's here in Jacksonville. And when I walked in, I'm going to share my screen with y'all. When I walked in, I was like, oh, this is it. This is the stage with the plants and the really great lighting. I'm kidding about the plants, so you did say that. The really great lighting, and they have 3 different camera angles. And so this is how it was set up when I was there for a site visit. So, the stage can look a little different. Our stage will look a little bit different. It'll be a little bit bigger than this. But this backdrop is absolutely incredible. They used to do a lot of NPR shows here. They would shoot commercials and TV shows. And so this really had to be like a really flexible space that looked fantastic on camera. And you can see all the great lighting that's all rigged up already in the ceiling. And so I just really felt like, oh my gosh, we might have just found this. Like this might have just worked. And I think like the hardest thing for us is to try to communicate the vision when it's a first year event, right? So like, what does that look like? What does that mean? Where am I going to be? What are the colors? Somebody asked me, one of our speakers who's speaking at the Big Idea conference, they're like, so what color is the background going to be? And I'm like, great question. I don't know yet. Good question though. And we'll make sure that, you know, once we get those details so that the speakers show up and they don't clash with the background. So, if anyone's ever gotten their colors done, I'm a big fan. Dawn, have you ever gotten your colors done?
That was also one of my careers. I actually did color analysis.
Stop.
Yes.
Do you still do it?
No, not anymore, because my passion is now helping people to connect to their purpose and create a dolce vita and continue their legacy. But yeah, the color thing is always there. And I'm a winter.
You're a winter. Oh, I love it. I'm a spring. Maybe that's obvious from looking.
We're both cool, so.
Yep. Yes. Maybe you can elaborate on that for us, like the importance of, I mean, of course, have your color analysis done, like if you can, that's great. But like, just like the important, even if you don't, like what the importance of wearing the right colors. Maybe you can dig back into your brain a little bit and give
Absolutely.
us your
I used to do absolutely. I used to do a lot of TV spots too when I lived in Colorado and Kansas City. So when you talked of asking people what should I wear for the Big Idea Conference, do not wear the green of the green screen. Otherwise, that's what otherwise you might end up with something really crazy going across your torso.
Yeah.
Don't wear patterns, because patterns are wonky on camera, but wearing solid colors, and think about what is your brand. You know, someone that's an artist, they can go for wild, crazy colors, whereas somebody that's maybe selling financial security or something like that, you want to play that part and wear the navy blue suit with the white shirt and the red tie. So it is about your brand. And also when you think about your social media, whether it's your website, your social media, the colors need to all kind of go together. Like mine's mostly blues, tones of blues. And so every asset that I have, whether it's speaking, which I will be getting these more pictures, it all looks like it goes together, because it does. It purposely goes together, and it's not jarring. And I'm not wearing orange one day and royal blue another day. It's all consistency.
You know, shoots, you just made me think of another thing. Dawn, I feel like we could talk forever. You made me think of another thing that's really important too, is just when you use the word consistency. Sometimes when we put together, so same with the Big Idea Conference, right? Like how you show up at the Big Idea Conference should be similar to how you're showing up in your courses or your other speaking engagements, etc. Because like we just did a speaker reel for someone. So we just put together somebody's speaker reel, and we were kind of pulling from a bunch of different places. And in some cases, like she doesn't even look like the same person. And I'm just like, ooh, you know, I promise it's the same person, you know? And so like just having that consistency would be really great to be able to just kind of pull all that together. So anyway, another awesome thing that you just brought up that I didn't think about. All right, so going back to the Big Idea Conference, Dave, what am I leaving out? Okay, so you show up at the Big Idea Conference, you're speaking. We're going to provide 3 camera angles because you told me we had to have multiple camera angles. And I told you for the longest time, we might only end up with 1. But turns out when we found the right venue, we've got 3 different camera angles. We'll have a professional photographer there. So that's kind of like some of the cool things that you get out of just like that moment. But what else am I missing? I'm missing a lot.
Well, yeah, well, you know, some of the motivation is probably a big deal. Like, why does this even matter? And I think you've covered that a little bit. And I think here at ASA, if nothing else, we live what we coach because we're not smart enough to come up with alternate realities. So when we coach, or at least when I do, I coach people on finding the unmet need in the market. As a speaker, who are you speaking to and why? And oftentimes, and we won't derail on this, but people come in and they say, this is what I want to talk about. And I say, well, who cares? And I don't mean who cares. I mean, who cares? If you just have your idea and you want to know why you can't get anyone to come listen, it's because you're only thinking about yourself. So once we get all that cleaned up for speakers, we say, hey, look, who's your audience? What's your niche? What's your message? What is the problem you solve? That's the same thing for us. What is the problem that we solve here at ASA for emerging and experienced speakers? And we try to figure that out. And when we look across the landscape of folks who come in and we coach, we get the niche, we do all the work, we put the press kit together, we do the Book Me video, we have all this collateral, and then we start submitting calls for speakers and all this stuff. And you know what all the speakers want that we get? They all want the same thing. What do they want? Stages. Like everyone wants a stage. And no one gets enough, right? Like that's how do I get more stages? How do I get stage, right? Well, so then you have to pause to answer the question now, Amy. That's all set up.
Thanks for
To
the
answer the
setup.
question, yeah, to answer the question is you put yourselves, let's imagine that we're all event planners for a minute. We're hired to become event planners, and we're going to get paid a certain sum of money to put on a great event. And we do a call for speakers, and we have a virtual stack of speakers that we're going to sort through. Well, you know what I'm not going to do? Like I can tell you right now, like what would we, I'm not taking anyone's word for anything. Hey, trust me, gang.
I'm
I'm
really
going to
good.
come in and I'm going to blow them away. And say,
I'm
well,
so good.
yeah, I'm so good, which
So good.
everyone, by the way, which is what every speaker comes in and goes, oh, I'm great. I've spoken my whole life. Are you kidding me? I'm a natural. And then we see some of the video evidence of that and say, well, maybe you're not a natural. You might need a little bit, you might need a buff, right? Like,
Yeah.
no offense, but I'm a coach. I'm not a saint. I'm not here to tell you how great you are. Let's figure out how good you can be. Like, those are different conversations. So anyway, proof of life, as I call it. If I'm an event planner and you send me, let's call it, so the idea of the 3 camera angles is like creating a prestige stage. I want you to look badass on that stage. I want it to look like you're doing something of great importance, which you are. You're delivering your talk, which is this is the most important thing that a speaker does. So let's capture that in a video and stage format that serves that purpose well. And also, to your point, Don, the audio. You send me a talk. I got one the other day. Someone said, hey, watch my talk. And the audio was like from a phone, and you couldn't delete. Like there's a 0 tolerance level nowadays for bad tech, to include video. I'm not watching bad video. I'm not listening to bad sound, right? None of us are. There's nothing revolutionary about this. So in the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to create world-class materials for speakers so they have every single opportunity to win the stages they want. Full stop. That's the only reason we even exist.
Yes.
That's it. That's all we're here to do. And
Yes.
so the question for us is, well, how do we do that either better than anyone else or better than anyone else? Like, I know there's some great, Amy tells me, don't talk about these other people. They're really good. Like, look, I just don't care about them. I care about the speakers.
You're killing me. I don't
Right? No, yeah, Amy never said anything like that. So I only care about our speakers. How do I get you to a place where you have a world-class message, really know your niche, great press kit, great Book Me video, and then, oh, by the way, watch me in action. And let's go back to being an event planner. You send that to me in a link and I bring it up and you crush for 15, 20 minutes. I now have what? Confidence. Like, that's someone I can book for a stage. Now, by the way, now we have, if you want to string it out, what happens if you stink? Well, well, we got to do some work then. And we're going to be honest with you. We're going to do some pre-work. Amy's going to get into that. We got to make sure that when you hit that stage, you're reasonably good, right?
Yeah.
I get fired up. It's not my talk. It's my job. I get fired up for people. I want people I care about the speakers here, and we want them to crush on the stage, and I want to win. Like, I want our speakers to outdo other speakers. So
Yeah.
that's me. How's that for an answer, Amy?
Yeah,
Shut up
no,
now.
that's pretty
Am I getting
good.
the flashing red light? Dave, shut up. I got it.
I didn't give you that, but
No.
but maybe we need one, just like a
Yeah,
Dave
maybe,
light
you
that
might.
goes, Dave, warning, Dave,
Stop.
warning. No, I mean, I often say, like, we want you to win. You know, if anyone thinks otherwise, then, you know, they're not in the right place. I mean, we come from a place of service and helping speakers to truly do what it is that they were meant to do, you know, which is speak. And if you want to be a speaker, you have to speak. And I say this all the time, which means like saying yes and to opportunities, because those opportunities always turn into another opportunity. I shouldn't use that always, but for me, I can talk about for me. I often talk about the speaking engagements I've had, and all but one speaking engagement has turned into another opportunity, you know, and so, and that's hundreds of it's over 100 speaking engagements. So, you know, but you have to get the speaking engagement first. And I think that that's like the critical component. And one of the things that you said was, oh no, trust me, I'm so good, right? Like we get that within the agency. They're almost like, sometimes we have speakers that are almost trying to sell us on how great they are. Like, that's, we believe you, and there's still, let's set a foundation. Let's like set a baseline. We have, like, full transparency here, we have booked speakers for speaking engagements, and then the event has come back to us and said that was not good. Like, we are not happy. And so we want to make sure that that doesn't happen, right? So like so there's kind of like that. That's why there's two sides to the Big Idea Conference. There's the preparation side to make sure that you crush it on stage, not only for the video, but so that all of that performing, like, learning that you have can be taken then for every single speech. Because if you can do it for your speech at the Big Idea Conference, you can repeat that and learn it. And I'm a big believer in having a unique signature bit that is totally unique to you, that sets you apart, because the speaking world as it is today is very different than how it was even 10 years ago. And so event planners are looking for that. But anyway, so yeah, so that's kind of that's the picture of the Big Idea Conference, like why it exists, how it came to be. We're really excited. It's in February of 2025 here in Jacksonville, as I said, largest soundstage in the South. So we're really excited to partner with WJCT on that aspect of it so that we can get just these really great videos and assets for people. I'll share just a really, I didn't plan on this because I wasn't thinking about it, but Dave, you said something that reminded me of it. And I'm like, oh shoots, this just happened to me. Is I was introduced to somebody who has an event next year. I haven't even done the call yet. Has an event next year. And this particular introduction was like, hey, I think Amy might be great for your event. I think you two should meet, take it from there, right? So that's the intro. And this was an intro with the event planner. And I was like, very nice to meet you. Would love to, you know, learn more about your conference. Here is, and then I linked to my speaker video and I said, here is a video just to help us set a foundation for our discussion when we talk. And she replied back and she was like, fantastic. I think this is going to be great. I'm really excited to talk to you. So like already it's almost like a pre-selling thing, right? Like, so now we go into the conversation. I don't have to be like, I promise you, I'm so good. I'm so good. People love me. Like, no, I don't have to say any of that. Like, she has seen it and she knows if it's a match too. And maybe that's a little bit of an angle that we aren't talking. Like, maybe this is the part that we're not talking about, which is sometimes you're not right for a speaking engagement. And that video will show them right out of the bat if that's what they're looking for. And oftentimes, if it's not, I think speakers take that really personal, and then they think they're not good enough, or the video's not good enough, or I don't know, whatever. It's just like this whole like fear comes in. Michelle could probably, our other speaker coach, can probably talk about this a lot better than I can, of all the things that kind of then internally happen to you. But really, like, that's a favor to you, because I think one of the worst things that you can do is convince somebody that you're so good or that you're right for their audience. And then you get up there and that's not what they were looking for. That doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your audience. And that is just a bunch of wasted time. So maybe that's the angle that also that we're not talking about, that, you know, a video, assets, all those things kind of help flush out. If she saw that and it wasn't right, that's fine. Right? Like, thank goodness I don't have to work on a bunch of hours like rehearsing a speech that was never going to be right for them. So anyway, you just kind of reminded me of that story, and I forgot that was kind of, those balls are up in the air for me right now. And so anyway, what did I miss, Dave?
How honest am I allowed to be here, Amy, on Coffee Talk?
110%.
All right, look,
I'll
if
give you
you
a
don't
little
think this
leeway.
is a good idea, please don't sign up. If you don't like the idea, don't leave crappy comments. We don't care. This is for people that want to, this is for people who need assets, understand the value of high quality assets, and frankly, have the money, because we can't do this for free. It does cost something. One of the things that Amy does an amazing job of is we don't figure out, and it's the only reason I'm here. Like, I have a couple other businesses. I actually enjoy doing this, is why I can be honest and Amy can fire me afterwards. Like, you like to be able to be afford to be fired. So if you have to have the money to do this, we try to do it as inexpensively as we possibly can,
Yeah.
right? And we're not in the business of getting as much money from people. We want to help people as much as we can and deliver as much value as possible. And if you see the value in that and you can afford to do this, it's not a pitch. Don't care. So we're going to do this no matter what. We have 2 people or 200 people. We're doing this. And if you need assets, you see the value in it, you know how to deliver, you want some extra coaching, this is probably the best deal for that you'll ever get. And if you don't like that, super duper awesome. Like, save us the pain. We don't need that work. Like, this is hard enough. We don't need crappy people that want to be naysayers, just not interested. And that comes from a place of giving, because I coach a lot and I give a lot. So just know, I love everyone out there. Just don't be an awful person. Is that fair? Is that okay? How's that? Are we going to cut that scene out? Like, that's going to get edited out afterwards?
No, Dawn's like, no, don't cut it out. Don't cut it out.
Look,
It's
the
like the whole
Facebook-
video thing, right? Like, if you're
Oh.
not a fit, that turns, then you're not, you know.
My favorite people are the people that talk about happiness, and they're the most miserable people you'll ever meet. Those are my favorite speakers. I speak on happiness.
I
And
speak
then
on
they
happiness.
just crush you with misery.
Well,
you're
I
the
speak
real-
on, I hope I don't crush you with misery.
No,
on
no,
it,
you're the
too,
real deal.
too.
Anyway, there you go. That's the part that hits the cutting room floor. So I do believe in that. And then you may want to talk about some of the, maybe the audience a little bit. That's always, I think that's,
Oh,
maybe you want, I mean, I know it's not solidified, but maybe give a vision for what you're thinking of from an audience perspective.
so yeah, I mean, it's a question that we get asked like almost immediately. Number one, how many people are going to be in the audience? And number
Mhm.
two, who's going to be in the audience?
Mhm.
And I might have said this earlier, but maybe I didn't, is because I tend to repeat myself. I'm like my mother, and I'm like, Mom, you just told me that. And she would have been like, did I? I'm like, yeah. But anyway, here I am years later turning into her. It's more about what's happening on the stage and less about the audience. So there will be an audience. It will be of the other speakers, of your peers. Also, there are some discussions about bringing in students, college students, because we want to give back to the industry as well. And as well as there's other conversations with another company who services event planners. And so we're in conversations about kind of like teaming up on the event, because if we can put event planners in the room, like that's just a bonus. And I'm saying it's a bonus because we're not guaranteeing that you're, going to be speaking to a room full of event planners. However, we have kind of started this conversation with some of the event planners that I know within my own kind of circle. And there's a lot of excitement around it, like the concept they love. They love the concept because they also want to see speakers speak before they hire them. So there's a lot of excitement around it. And so we'll be working, towards that. But again, for the first year, I would mark it as a complete win and a complete bonus on the audience. But those conversations are happening. I just can't promise it as we stand right now. Maybe in a month, once we get some things worked out, we'll be like, hey, and then the people who got in on the Big Idea Conference early probably are going to be very, very happy that they got in early, because that will probably change a little bit of how the Big Idea Conference looks and the investment and all that. But yeah, so that's the audience.
And I'm working on some
answer.
science, what was it? Science Theater 3000. I'm working on some cardboard cutouts that we can have in the front row. Right?
Like just in case.
Yeah. Just have, right. Trust me, no, that's a person.
Who knows? Just a shadow.
Yeah.
You don't need anything more than that. No, I'm just kidding. Dave, please.
What was it? Mystery Science Theater. That's what it was.
I don't know.
Who's
That
old
might not
enough?
be my
Who's old enough to
generation.
remember that? Huh? Dawn, you
Yeah.
are not. You're not old enough to remember that. That's a lie. Dawn's a liar. All right. Next thing.
Oh, I'm quite old enough.
Remember, somebody mistaken her by 20 years.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I'm okay if they make those kind of mistakes.
Yeah, it's a good mistake to make.
Right.
You got some good genes, that's good. That's good stuff. Dawn, thanks for hanging out with us
Oh,
and
yeah, this is great.
chatting with us. It's really
Yeah.
great to meet you.
And how do we get more information of where to enroll and all that?
Good question. So I can, I'll pop the website in here, but I can also shoot you a note.
we didn't plan on anyone buying, Dawn, so we're not ready for that question.
So we'll probably set you up if you're like to continue the conversations because you're
Yes.
going to have a lot more questions than what
Okay.
we answer. I
Sure.
think maybe you
Yes,
might have a
yes,
lot
that
more
is true.
questions.
That is a true.
than
Well, I
what
don't
we
have a lot
just-
of questions, but I am interested in moving forward.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So that's the page, but I'll also shoot you a note. I'll connect you with David, not
Okay.
this Dave, a different David. You might even know him if you were part of BSP. You might
Okay.
have talked to him at one point anyway, since we're sister companies, sometimes we share
Yes.
some resources. Anyway,
Okay.
I'll hook you up with David and you guys can chat
Okay.
through some of
Terrific.
that too.
Thank you.
So thank you for asking. Yeah, you're welcome. Where do you live, Don?
I'm in Rhode Island.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, I was born and raised here, moved away for almost 30 years, came back actually, I just had a Facebook memory pop up yesterday that it was
I love that.
16 years ago I moved back to Rhode Island.
Love
So,
that.
yeah.
Oh, so good. Well, we were talking, I hate talking about the weather, but I have to say it now. We were talking about the weather before you got on, and like right now in Rhode Island is probably glorious.
Oh
is
my gosh.
guess.
Autumn is amazing
Stop.
here. Colors. It is. Autumn is a beautiful time of year here. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm so jealous. It's just hot here in Florida. But I tell you what, it might be really nice here in February, right?
Yeah.
When you're gonna
Yes,
want to get out of
Exactly.
Rhode
Let's talk
Island.
in February. It'll be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So well, thank you for joining. I'll connect with you, Dawn, just so I can get you connected with David. And Dave, what did I miss? What did we miss for those that are listening? I know I keep asking that question. It's so hard to paint a vision that you've got, right? Like to take your brain and like
Mhm.
paint it to the world.
I think the only thing that we may not have covered was editing. So
Hmm.
we will provide all the raw footage, so you will get
Yep.
all the camera angles and everything. But the people, I think correct is either the people that are doing the photography or doing the video are also the editors. But we're not trying to make any money on that. We're not trying to create custom packages on that. So you're going right dealer direct. So you're going right to the source on that. And if you want editing, which there's gold in Endar Hills, like you want that editing is awesome, because that's why you want the 3 camera angles. They
Yeah.
can pull in your slides into that and really do some dynamic stuff. And just imagine that if, again, everything should be seen through the lens of the event planner if I'm watching this. So you are also going to be able to take the raw footage and do with it as you will. So if you're
Yep.
someone who's on a budget, completely everyone gets that. If you're on a budget and you can't do that now, you can do it later. You can do it now.
Yeah.
You might have your own, like a lot of people are like many professionals out there with their own editing tools. You might be able to do that yourself. So that's the other cool thing, is you're going to have this material for all time, and you might do the editing 3 years from now. I mean, who knows? But that level of content will be, you may never get a stage with 3 camera angles,
Mhm.
high
That's true.
quality video, like all in the screen. I don't know if you can take how big that screen is. It's super dope. Like you
Gosh,
can look the
yeah.
place up. I think they're on YouTube. What's the name? Aren't they on YouTube? maybe?
WJCT Soundstage. This video, I don't want the sound here, but you can kind of, I'll do see there I am, like I'm doing a
Mhm.
360, and that thing was,
Yeah.
yeah, so you
massive.
see how massive it is.
Yeah. So you can have the big, so when you have massive slides up, you won't even, it's so big, you can't see the whole slide. I don't really have a big problem with that for this, because you can zoom the slides in and out on the editing side. Yeah,
There you
there's a good shot. Like those are, yeah, there you go. Like those are, imagine that with a big stage and some plants. So
Yeah,
the editing,
yeah.
the editing is on you as the speaker.
based
but
on
you'll
what-
get all, get all the
Yeah.
raw
Yeah.
footage, which will be awesome too.
Yeah, I mean, you can just use the raw footage. you
And we
know.
weren't, and for the Miami folks watching, going, Dave, that's what you said, Miami. That would be correct. And Dave, your guy blew it, Miami. That would be correct. We learned from that, and this is a legendary upgrade from what we did in Miami, just in case there's someone out there that wants to, again, spew a little venom my way, which I love.
Awesome. Love it. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the coffee talk. I will now finish my I didn't need it, but I had it. So I'll go finish it. And thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
fun.
I
You
appreciate it.
got it. Have a good one. See ya.
See ya.
Okay, sounds
Bye.
good.
Bye.
Bye.